What is going on, you guys? Petplatypus here, and it is time for my surprise review that I hyped up before. You read the title, you saw the thumbnail. Uncharted 4, A Thief's End, my first video game review. And maybe my last. I don't know. It depends on if you guys like the review. Please offer, some constructive criticism in the comment section below about how I can improve the structure or the pace of the video to make it better in case I do any more video game reviews in the future. Yeah, this is just a game I really want to talk about, so I don't know if doing video game reviews is going to become a thing, but anyways, going into the game, we'll start off with the audio visuals, we'll move into the core gameplay of the story, then we'll move into the multiplayer, and then I will go into the story itself in depth with spoilers, so there's a spoiler warning there. Also, if you're kind of worried about seeing some things in the game, I won't be using any gameplay until I get to multiplayer, which won't be spoiling any story locations or anything. I mean, the multiplayer maps are kind of story locations, but they're totally different. They're totally... you wouldn't be able to tell. So, with that being said, let's just get into the audio-visual parts of the game. In terms of audio, I'm not going to bash it at all, but it's audio that gets the job done. The explosions sound good, the rocks crumbling sound great, the punches sound great. The music is, of course, fantastic. It fits everything that's going on in the scenes, and it's intense, and when it needs to be intense and everything. So the music and all that stuff, the audio is great. It's nothing that'll blow your socks off, though, and that's not a criticism. I'm not saying because it isn't better than it is, it's somehow bad. It's just one of those necessary ingredients that adds to the overall soup that is Uncharted that lets it be, really, really great. It's one of those key components, but it is nothing that stands out on its own as mind-blowing. Like I said, the rocks sound great, the explosions sound great, the voice acting is all top-notch from everybody, probably some of the best performances they've given maybe in their careers, I don't know, but definitely some of the best they've done in the Uncharted series for sure. The new characters sound great. With that being said, though, the voice acting is, of course, top-notch, and the sound design is very good. Like I said, nothing that'll blow your socks off, but it is one of those key components that adds to the overall product to make it great. The visuals, though, will blow your socks off. They'll blow the socks, shoes, and maybe even your pants off. I mean, the visuals in this game are stunning, and the game likes to... when it starts off, you're kind of just around a few buildings, some rooftops, it's dark, it looks great, it looks fantastic, but as you play the game more and you go to more locations, and as the characters point out that that's a nice view every 20 seconds, it feels like, you'll see that the visuals, they aren't improving, but the locations you go to are just so stunning visually, and they just keep trying to throw more stunning locations on you one after another, like, here's a shot of a fucking epic volcano and mountains and red rocks, and here's a city shot with people moving around, and here's fucking ocean with islands and lighting and sunsets, and it constantly throws great visuals at you, trying to one-up itself with each chapter, it feels like, and the visuals are just stunning. I don't know if they're on the top-tier PC-level Master Race visuals, but they look incredible. Speaking of the PC Master Race shit, it's no secret that the PS4 and especially the Xbox One are underpowered to what they probably should be in the year 2016. And because of that, the game does run at 30 frames a second in the story with stunning visuals and 1080p, while the multiplayer has dumbed down graphics that still look great, and it runs at 60 frames a second, which I think was a smart thing to do. I almost wish the game itself had an option to bump the graphics down to the level of the multiplayer so that you could play the game at 60, kind of like a PC game. But it doesn't have that, but I would have liked that option. That would have been really cool. But with that being said, the visuals are incredible. The visuals are absolutely stunning. They're the best in the Uncharted franchise. I actually put in Uncharted 2 on my PS3, not even the remastered version, because my friend is borrowing my remastered collection right now. And I wouldn't have put it in anyway. I would have put in the original to really compare. And it's not night and day. I mean, 2 still holds up kind of well. But man, though, the fucking graphic improvement is just absolutely insane, and just, the game looks stunning. But graphics and audio design can be great. What about the gameplay, the most important part of a video game? What a novel concept, right? A video game, and its most important element is its gameplay. Gameplay in a video game. Weird, right? But some people don't understand that that's the most important part. In terms of gameplay, there's four main gameplay elements to this one. You have the cover fire shooting, the platforming, the puzzle solving, and the stealth. Starting off with the cover fire shooting, because it's basically the simplest one to talk about, it's more of the same. I guess when you add in the sound effects and everything and all that stuff, the gun, is maybe a little bit more satisfying. Some of the shootouts are a little bit more engaging because of the sound design. But in terms of core gameplay, you switch cover to cover, you fire the gun, it's basically the same. I believe now I'm a total novice when it comes to shooters. I just point the gun, and if it hits, it hits. I don't really care about the subtle nuances of the guns or the reticle or everything. But when it comes to the reticle, I feel like what they did was you fire the gun and the dot moves to where the bullet strayed. And I think that's a nice little touch to help you kind of like aim for your headshots and everything. Maybe. I could be wrong. I don't know what it's doing. Again, I don't get the subtle nuances of the shooting, but still, it works well. Also, they added this nice little feature where when you shoot somebody, the reticle will turn orange when it kills them. It sounds small, but it goes a long way. I love that confirmation. I believe in Grand Theft Auto 5 they did something similar where the screen would change color just a tiny bit when you got a kill, or there'd be some kind of sound effect. I love that response. It really makes the kills feel more satisfying and more complete, and like, yes, kill confirmed, this guy dropped, he's not going to get back up. So really appreciate that little touch. It's subtle, it's tiny. If you don't care about it, I completely understand. But for me personally, it's a really nice, satisfactory touch that goes a long way throughout the game. So the shooting is improved. It's slight, but it is improved when you consider the sound design and some of the little additions here and there. It's slightly improved. It's more of the same, but it works. In terms of platforming, it's again more of the same, but there are those subtle touches that go a long way, like Drake not having to for you not have to press X every time to jump from cliff to cliff. The really close ones, Drake will just sort of reach for. He has a lot of new animations. It feels smoother. He'll hop over his partner's shoulders. They're not in the way, so that's very convenient. The rope swinging is a great addition to the Uncharted gameplay. It helps in the set pieces. It helps in the more intense platforming sections. It feels natural and it feels like a good fit, as does the sliding. And it's not just, oh, slid down a hill, that's cool. You actually do have to slide, maybe, jump at the last second to reach a cliff, slide to the left so you grab onto this cliff before you fall over the edge. So yeah, the sliding definitely adds more layers to the platforming, to the gameplay, and to the running around and everything. So I will say the platforming elements are improved over the previous games, more so than the shooting, but again, you are getting more of the same. My only criticism about the platforming is I think there is too much, and I'll get more into that when I talk more about the story and the narrative and the set pieces, but I do think there's too much platforming. It sort of slows the game down. There's always something like that in these games. In the first game, I feel like there was too many gun shootouts. It got repetitive. In the third game, I want to say there was too much puzzles. Maybe it was just me at the time. Maybe there was a couple too many in a row, and that just sort of stuck with me in my brain. But I feel like there's a bit too many puzzles in the third game. But maybe I'm wrong. But when I think about it, I feel like there is a bit too much. And in the fourth game, I feel like there's too much platforming. And I love platformers. I love platformers. But I do feel like it slows down the game. There's a touch too much, touch too many. So yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say about the platforming, though. It's still fantastic. I just think there's a touch too much. And in Uncharted 2, I didn't say anything because I don't mean to suck Uncharted 2's dick, but it's pretty much perfectly balanced and like the best in the franchise and just one of the greatest games ever made. Yeah, suck its dick, whatever. But Uncharted 2 is amazing. But yeah, platforming's great. Anyways, moving on to the puzzle solving. First off, I'll just get it out of the way. The box moving shit, where you have to put a box in the right spot to climb up a ledge. Completely lame, completely bad, not good at all. The mechanic works, you pull it around, whatever, but it feels a little weird, and it's just kind of pointless and pads things out, and just, yeah, that part of the puzzle solving, if you want to call it puzzle solving, maybe you could put that in the platforming category, whatever. A couple of them are okay, but for the most part, they're just the same thing over and over, and they're just kind of dull. But the rest of the puzzles are nice and intricate, they're elaborate, they're fun, they make you think. In some of the other games, Drake just pulls out his handy-dandy notebook and he can just sort of figure it out right there. The answer is right there for you. In this one, you don't get that as much, so you kind of have to figure it out on your own a little bit more. He still has the journal that'll give you the answer, but actually figuring it out is pretty enjoyable and pretty satisfying, and it never really stumped me too hard. except for this one where you have to point these lights. That one stumped me for a while. But you do have to think on these puzzles. But they are enjoyable. They aren't going to take too long. You're never going to think like, oh my god, could it just auto-solve? This is ridiculous. At least for me personally, I never had that problem. So the puzzles are par for the course. They make you think, they're elaborate. They're pretty much on par with the puzzles from the previous game, in my opinion. Maybe they make you think a little bit more, but I'd put them on par with the previous games. And, they're good. They're still really good. Then you have the stealth. The stealth in this game is the biggest change to the Uncharted franchise, because in the previous games, well, in the first one, it was basically, alright, you can sneak around a little, but you're going to get caught. Maybe kill one or two guys, but these guys have eyes like a hawk, they have very realistic vision, they will see you. So there's no point in really trying to do anything stealth-wise. In the second game, there is a stealth section early on, and if you get caught, you automatically lose, and the guards don't have the greatest vision because it's dark, and they don't want you to get caught immediately, so they don't give them realistic vision, of course. But, moving on from there, the stealth in the third game is a little bit more, like, you can stealth some sections, but once you're caught, and you will get caught eventually, and it'll turn into a shootout. But in this game, they basically revamped it to be this sort of simplistic, I mean, not Sly Cooper simplistic, like these guards do have vision, but it's fair. They won't notice you in tall grass, they won't notice you behind cover. They aren't total blind fucking retards either. They will see you. When they notice you, they'll go investigate. They'll be a little bit more cautious afterwards. If you do get caught, you can have a shootout. If things get too intense, you can hide again, which they basically pulled from The Last of Us. And I think that was a good idea, because in the third game, you can stealth a section, and once you're caught, you have a shootout. You really just want to say to yourself, man, I wish I could stealth this section. Do I restart the checkpoint, or can I hide again? And obviously you can't hide again, so in this game you do have the ability to do that. It's very simplistic, rudimentary stealth, but it works really well, and what helps it even more is the environments they give you, with the little passageways, rope swings, slides, cover, climbing. All this stuff gives you like a nice little playground to fuck these guys up without being seen, or if you say fuck it, I don't have the patience right now, have a cool shootout. And the environment is built for that too. It's not just built for stealth, it's built for good quick escapes, it's built for good cover, it's built for good platforming. You can do a rope swing, punch a dude in the head from midair. It's all great, it's really, really cool. So, with all that being said, definitely love what they did with the stealth elements and the cover fire shooting and the environments they give you to do them in. Pretty much all the gameplay elements across the board in this game are improved. So yeah, all that stuff is fantastic. The visuals and audio are fantastic. Let's go into the multiplayer a bit. This multiplayer is very fun and very addicting. I'm not someone who likes multiplayer. I don't hate it, but I really can't get invested into multiplayer gaming. It's just not something I'm a huge fan of. Never really got invested. Until Uncharted 4. I love this multiplayer. You can do pretty much everything you can in the main story. It feels balanced, it feels fair. Running at 60 frames a second definitely helps. You can platform, you can jump, the maps have really good design. There's a couple of maps I suck on or just don't really like, but for the most part the maps are really nice and varied and they're good. The superpowers they give you that are based on some of the, ancient treasures of the previous games were really, really cool. And yeah, even the sidekicks. I mean, a couple of the sidekicks are really fucking annoying, like the ones that choke you out, but the sidekicks definitely add their element to the gameplay, and it's really fun, and it's really engaging, and I never get invested into multiplayer, but it's really, really fun. In terms of customization, they've removed the ability to create a character, which kind of sucks, but the create a character in Uncharted 3, let's be honest, it was kind of bad, so just being able to customize the core characters is pretty fun. You can make them look pretty different. Their preset outfits are really cool, and honestly, they have enough witty dialogue to where you want to play as them and hear what they're going to say, because what they have to say is usually pretty funny. So, yeah, the multiplayer is engaging, it's fun. I've only really played Team Deathmatch. I haven't dove into the other, modes. There we go, I lost the word for a second. I haven't dived into the other modes yet, but the Team Deathmatch mode is really satisfactory, really fun. So, definitely give the multiplayer a thumbs up. If for anything else, the fact that I love it as much as I do, because I personally do not get invested into multiplayer. So, With that being said, the multiplayer is great. I do think it's an improvement over Uncharted 3. Gone are those sections that seemed cool on paper where it's like, oh, you're inside the convoy following the plane. It's kind of like a set piece in the multiplayer. And then you play it a couple times and you're like, all right, let's just kind of mull through this part so we can get to the actual map. So gone are those set pieces, and what they mainly wanted to focus on is building the maps so you have constant momentum, rope swing here, jump here, slide here, so that there's a constantly momentum going on and makes it feel like Uncharted. And I think the set pieces were an interesting idea in Uncharted 3, but they just didn't work out that well, to me at least. I just thought it was kind of like, oh, we're in the train. Let's just kind of say fuck it and just sort of not wait, but just kind of whatever until we get to the actual map. So, but yeah, that's my criticism of Uncharted 3's multiplayer and where I think Uncharted 4 improved. So I think the Uncharted 4 multiplayer is fantastic. Again, if for nothing else, the fact that I got invested in it, because I don't really like multiplayer. But with all that being said, with the story, or not the story, excuse me, I'm about to get into the story, with the core gameplay, the audio, the visuals, and the multiplayer, you have what is pretty much a fantastic AAA game that everyone should play. I highly recommend, if you have a PS4, to pick up the Nathan Drake collection, play 1, 2, and 3, then play Uncharted 4. You're going to have a great time if you like cover fire shooters, but even without the cover fire shooting, you still have some great platforming, you still have some great puzzles, and some really good set pieces. But with all that being said, I'm going to give this game a final score of 9.8 out of 10. When I get into the story, and what I'm about to mention right here is going to be why it's not quite a 10 or an 11 out of 10, but it's really close. There's just two things it needed to reach that 11 out of 10, and it just fell slightly short, but still, final rating is a 9.8 out of 10 for Uncharted 4: A Thief's End. If you do not want to be spoiled on the story, click away from the video. If you don't care about spoilers, let's talk spoilers. So, with all that being said, just real quick, right before I get into the spoilers, I just want to say the story, the narrative, and the lack of set pieces are what stopped this from being an 11 out of 10. Like I said, the platforming slows down the pace of the game. It feels like there's too much platforming. The game needed more crazy, elaborate set pieces like Uncharted 3 and like Uncharted 2. It has a couple that are really great. You see the E3 2015 demo is a perfect example, but a lot of the other elements of the set pieces are not really here. The ones that are here are sort of brief, they're fun, they're engaging, but at the same time, they aren't exactly as elaborate as the other ones, where Sully will get his foot stuck and the building is burning around you and you got to shoot these guys while you're pulling Sully's leg out, and the staircase will collapse so you jump to Sully and he'll grab you and pull you up, and Sully will take the path, and then when you go to take it, it'll collapse so you have to find a different route. That happens a couple times, but all in all, it's not as exciting as the previous games in Uncharted 4, unfortunately, and if it had those really cool set pieces, I would definitely have given it a higher score, because I feel like those are a staple of Uncharted gameplay, and to not have them here is kind of disappointing. I know they wanted to tell the story straight up and slow down the pace and spend time on the characters, but like I said, box moving to jump up on stuff and a lot of platforming could have been cut for some set pieces, and you still would have had plenty of character interaction and plenty of story. So, yeah, I don't think that's really that great of an excuse. Though I do like that they did focus a lot on the characters and the story in this one. But I have my issues with that, and that is another reason why it's not an 11 out of 10. I do have issues with the narrative, which I'll be going into right now in the spoiler section. Now, I still think it's a great story. It is good. This is one of those games where, or even any form of media, where if it's just an absolutely fantastic product and you find those little problems with it, they're gonna stand out. But I gave it a 9.8 out of 10. I love the game. I think it's fantastic. I think the core gameplay is superior to the other Uncharted's, but the lack of set pieces and the narrative do hold it back, and some of the slow pacing do hold it back from being my favorite in the Uncharted franchise. So with all that being said, let's move into the spoilers. Let's move into the story. What did you guys think of Uncharted 4: A Thief's End? Tell me in the comment section below. I'd love to hear it. Also tell me what you thought of the review. I feel like this is going to be a long one and a bitch to edit, but fuck it. Tell me in the comment section below. You can also follow me on Instagram or add me on PSN. I'm petplatypus on both. Also give this video a thumbs up and share it on social media. Both of those would help me out a lot. Subscribe if you haven't already or if you like what you've seen here. If you watched this entire video, you must have liked it at least a little bit, so hit that subscribe button. Check out more of my content. I want to thank you guys for watching, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.